Okay, so let's talk life insurance. I know, not exactly the most thrilling topic, but it's something that's super important for everyone, especially if you're living with a condition like lupus.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And unfortunately, there's a lot of confusion and sometimes straight up misinformation when it comes to lupus and getting life insurance.
Totally. Like, do you even qualify if you have lupus? Is it even possible to get a decent rate?
Right. Those are exactly the kind of questions we're going to be tackling today. And thankfully, we've got some awesome insights to share from the folks over at Diversified Insurance Brokers. They're pros when it comes to navigating this stuff. So, yeah, we're in good hands today.
Definitely. So, listeners, get ready for a deep dive into the world of life insurance with lupus. Let's bust some myths and figure out how you can secure your financial future, diagnosis or not.
Sounds good to me. So, first things first, let's just address the elephant in the room. A lot of people think that a lupus diagnosis means an automatic no from insurance companies.
Yeah, for sure. Like game over, right?
Exactly. And I'm here to tell you that is absolutely not the case. You can definitely get life insurance with lupus. It's not impossible, it's just nuance.
Okay, nuance. I like that. So spill the tea. What are these nuances we need to know about?
So basically, insurance companies want to get a really clear picture of your individual situation. Makes sense, right? They got to assess the risk.
Makes totally sense. But what does that actually mean for someone with lupus? Like, what are they looking at specifically?
Well, they'll take into account your age at diagnosis. That's a big one. And whether you have systemic lupus or discoid lupus.
Oh, okay, I see. So the type of lupus matters too. What else?
They'll also look at the severity of your symptoms, obviously, and the treatments you're undergoing, any medications you're taking, and then, just your overall health profile. Kind of like putting together a puzzle, right?
Right, like a big health puzzle. So they're taking all these pieces into account to get the full picture. But let's get down to brass tacks. How do all these factors actually translate into getting approved for a policy? Give us an example.
Sure, okay. Imagine someone was diagnosed with lupus, say, 5 years ago, but they've been symptom-free for the past 3 years. They see their doctor regularly. Their lupus is well managed. That person has a really strong chance of qualifying for a standard rate policy, just like someone without lupus.
Wait, really? That's awesome. I think a lot of people listening might assume that just having lupus, period, automatically puts you in this high-risk category. But it sounds like that's not always true at all.
Nope, not all. And this is why it's so important to understand the different types of life insurance out there, because there are options, and knowing which one might be right for you can make a huge difference.
Okay, yes. Let's talk about those different types of policies. Just to refresh everyone's memory, because I know we touched on this in the outline. But can we actually go a little deeper into each one?
Absolutely, let's do it. So first up, we've got fully underwritten policies, and these usually offer the best rates, the most competitive premiums. And that's because they really dive deep into your medical history.
Okay, makes sense. More information, better assessment. But what does that deep dive actually involve?
It'll usually involve a medical exam, a review of your medical records, the whole 9 yards. It's pretty comprehensive.
Gotcha. So fully underwritten, great rates, but you got to be prepared to share your medical history.
Exactly. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have simplified issue policies, and these are a good option for folks who maybe don't want to go through that whole medical exam rigmarole.
I can see the appeal there. No needles, no doctor's office. But how do they assess your risk if they're not doing a full medical workup?
They will ask you some specific health questions, stuff like when you were diagnosed, how severe your symptoms are, if you've had any hospitalizations, what medications you're on, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay, I see. So it's like a streamlined version, kind of a middle ground between the full medical exam and just taking your word for it.
Precisely. And then last but not least, we've got guaranteed issue policies, and these are pretty much what they sound like. Guaranteed approval, no health questions asked.
Whoa, okay, that sounds almost too good to be true. There's got to be a catch, right?
There is a little bit of a catch. These policies often come with higher premiums, and that's because the insurer is taking on more risk, without that detailed health information.
Makes sense. Higher risk, higher cost.
Yeah, that's the trade-off. And one other thing to keep in mind with guaranteed issue policies, they often have what's called a graded death benefit.
Okay, now there's a term I bet a lot of our listeners haven't heard before. Break it down for us. What's a graded death benefit?
So let's say you get a guaranteed issue policy, and unfortunately you pass away within, let's say, the first 2 years of having that policy. With a graded death benefit, your beneficiaries, the people you've named to receive the money, they might only receive a portion of the full policy amount.
Oh, I see. So it's not a guaranteed full payout right from the start.
Right. It's kind of like a ramp up. The payout gradually increases over time until you reach the full benefit amount after a certain period.
Ah, I see. So it's kind of like a safety net for both the insured person and the insurance company.
Exactly. It allows people with pre-existing conditions to get coverage, and it also protects the insurance company from a potentially huge payout early on.
Okay, so we've got our fully underwritten, our simplified issue, and our guaranteed issue. Lots of options, which is great. But I imagine it can feel kind of overwhelming, right? Like, where do you even begin to figure out which one's right for you?
You're telling me it can be a lot to process, and that's where a broker can be your best friend. Someone with experience helping people with lupus navigate this world.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Like, you need someone who speaks insurance, right?
You got it. Someone who knows the ins and outs of these policies, who understands the underwriting guidelines, all that good stuff.
Someone who can be your advocate.
100%. And, diversified insurance brokers, they're great at this. They really know how to guide people through this whole process and make sure you're getting the best possible coverage.
It's honestly so reassuring to know that there are experts out there who can walk you through this and answer your questions. And I think it reinforces that even with a lupus diagnosis, you still have options. You're not alone.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway here. Lupus doesn't have to dictate your financial future. You have the power to make informed choices.
Knowledge is power, listeners. Do your research, reach out to experts like diversified insurance brokers, and take control of your financial well-being.
And one last thought for you all to consider. Knowing all of this, how does understanding these nuances of life insurance, how does it make you feel? Do you feel more confident, more empowered, knowing that you can take steps to protect your loved ones no matter what the future might hold? Think about it.